everybody. So today we're looking at the next in our Disney Canon rewatch, and we are looking at Treasure Planet. This was released in 2002, and it's an interesting film. It was directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, and it was their dream, their passion project. And they had wanted to do Treasure Island in space for a long time, even going all the way far back, even to the early days of the brainstorming for Little Mermaid and things like that. This idea was sort of batted around, which is kind of crazy. So they finally got the chance to make it. You know, it's interesting about this movie because I think a lot of people are probably expecting me to come on here and be like, this movie's way underrated. And it is and it isn't. The thing about it that makes it underrated is it is beautiful and it is extremely creative. The world building that they did, although some of it I do think looks a little CGI-ish now compared to what you would get now, the kind of rendering you would get now. It looks a little dated, I think, but it still is beautiful, and you're just creating these worlds. I love the scene when Jim Hawkins is on his surfboard kind of a thing and he's flying. I love scenes with flying in movies, so that's really great. I like the James Newton Howard score very much. I think it works really well with scenes like when he's flying on his surfboard thing. And yeah, it is beautiful. So in that sense, it is underrated. And I think that it has some really nice character moments. I think it has some, like I said, some great creativity. On the other hand, I don't really think it's that underrated because I think that it does have some problems and it's not a particular favorite of mine. And so I'll talk about a little bit of the things that I don't really like about it and the things I do like about it. So this is the story of Treasure Island. But the catch here, the creative twist, I guess, is that it is in space, but it's not really in space. It's in space, but it's in traditional ships. Like they don't have the traditional, garb that you'd see, the space astronaut kind of outfits and stuff like that and it's just like a traditional ship. And this is cool looking and it's creative, but it's also a little distracting, I feel like, because I don't really know the rules to this kind of world. What happens when people, fall off? What happens when a ship is in a storm? I know what happens to a ship that is on the ocean. I know those rules, but I don't know. At a certain point, there's a meteor kind of air space storm, for lack of a better word, and it doesn't have as much tension to me as a scene in a traditional boat, because traditional ship in the water, because I know how water works. I don't know what this weird world of traditional ships in the air, what it all works. And so just, I guess, kind of, I don't know, just loses some of that tension. And I think that it is really, really beautiful and creative, but once you kind of get used to that world building, the story itself is standard Treasure Island story. So you do know what is going to happen every single step of the way. They never really surprise you as far as the story itself, but you do get the surprise in the visuals. And to me, I like something like Atlantis much better, because to me, Atlantis had a lot of things that were completely new. It had a lot of, to me, as beautiful of world building, as beautiful of animation in the ships and the things, but it also had a new language, had a new culture, and to me it was a lot more fun. The humor works much better in Atlantis, in my opinion. I think the characters, it was just more of an adventure. It was more sort of engaging on that level, whereas this, to me, it becomes kind of predictable Treasure Island story. Pretty creative cosplay to it. But like I said, you do get kind of used to that fairly quickly, and at times it can be a little distracting because it just doesn't really make sense, the world that they've created. And if they had done like a traditional, like something like a Star Trek kind of a feel, but had it be in space and not be these traditional ships in the air, I think that might have worked better and done the Treasure Island story, but I don't know. It just doesn't quite work for me. But there are things about it that do really work. Like, of course, you have Jim is this sort of rebellious kid. He's trying, but then his mother's inn or whatever is destroyed. And so he is trying to find this treasure so that he can go and get this money that can help his mother. He joins this ship that are going to try to find this treasure. And the captain is played by Emma Thompson. She's this weird sort of cat, I guess. Her name is Captain Amelia. And she is, pretty stern. They don't seem to have that great of a relationship. She's pretty tough on Jim at times, but she's definitely commanding as a captain. And it's nice to see a female character in a Disney film with this kind of role, which is cool. And then there is John Silver, who is the cook, and his design is super cool. He's a cyborg. He's part like his arm, his leg, is part mechanical, which is pretty neat looking, very creative. And instead of having a parrot like you might typically have in Treasure Island, they have this little morph, which is like this little kind of blob. And so that was creative and different. The voice of Silver is Brian Murray. And the voice of Jim is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And I think the two of them have really, really good chemistry, and you really do feel them bond by their friendship, which is really important later on in the film with the betrayal and also sort of the things that the characters do. And so that really works, I think, in the film. Story, if you are a huge Treasure Island fan, which I'm really not the hugest, I like it, okay, but I'm not, a huge fan. I have some friends that are. And so this plays out pretty faithful to the book. And as far as the different things that happen throughout the story. There is also a dog character that is played by David Hyde Pierce. He's Delbert Doppler. He gets to know Captain Amelia, and they start to have a little bit of a relationship, so that's kind of nice. It's sort of weird, but nice. There's this character named Ben, who is this robot, voiced by Martin Short. And a lot of people hate him, say he's the Jar Jar Binks of Disney movies. I like him. I think he's kind of funny. So go figure. I'm an original thinker. I don't always agree with the masses on things, but I liked him. I thought he was funny. And it kind of brought some energy back into the film when, to me, there's parts of this movie that get pretty boring. That's just like nothing is happening, and it can feel a little self-indulgent at times. It kind of reminds me of Star Trek the Motion Picture in that way, when you have these long sort of shots of the ships, and I can just tell that Clements and Musker were just so in love with the visuals and so in love with the project that sometimes I think they could have used a nice little edit. 95 minutes, which is on the longer side for an animated film. It could have definitely been cut 10-15 minutes from this movie, I think, and it would have served it quite well. I maybe sounds like I'm really, really negative, but I'm not. I really like the relationship between Jim and Silver. I think that's handled very well. The visuals are beautiful and very creative, and it is something different. And I like Amelia. I like Doppler. I like Ben, which almost nobody likes. I like the voice casting throughout is really strong. So overall, I like the score. I like the song from Johnny Resnick. I think is really good. I'm Still Here. And so overall, I do like it, but I don't like it as much as a lot of other hardcore Disney fans that I know that really love it and really advocate for it. Right in the middle between giving this a C+ or B-. And I will, because I do think that some of the things are pretty, I'll give it a B-, but I don't know, I'm right on the edge there. But if you, I guess the creative things and things are probably strong enough. I'll give it a B-, but yeah, anyway, so that's sort of how I feel about Treasure Planet. Let me know what you think about Treasure Planet. Put it in the comment section, and thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!